Hello, MSPs and SMBs. Chuck Keller here, the co-founder and chief go-getter here at CyberHoot. This is our first episode of Shoot the Hoot Raw. So I guess we'll take this first step together. So first thing I'll talk about real fast is, you see my description, I'm one of the co-founders and the chief go-getter. So if I can back up for a second, I'm actually the lead developer, but I'm also the business owner. So when something's not quite right in the business, I go get it. I go get after it. So I'm kind of the self-proclaimed chief go-getter. So if that term makes sense with you, that's kind of who I am. So this is our first step into our first episode of Shoot the Hoot Raw. It's an opportunity for MSPs and SMBs to hear about what CyberHoot's doing, to learn a little bit. We're here to have a little bit of fun. We're here to entertain. We're here to learn something. So we'll have a topic each week. We're going to talk about each topic, et cetera, and dive into it. So there's going to be a little bit of oration. There's going to be a little bit of presentation, but not a whole lot of preparation. Meaning, I'm busy. You guys are busy. What I'm trying to do for this is pretty much put something out there where we can actually share, learn a little bit. There'll be very minimal preparation on it, so it's completely live. I don't typically do this. I'm a very fast talker. So if I'm going too fast, put me in slow motion when you rewatch it, right? We can do what my wife does sometimes. She has to stop button on me. I just stop. So that happens sometimes too. So let's jump right into Shoot the Hoot here. This is our unscripted, unfiltered, unapologetically CyberHoot. So I'm going to give this everything I can to you as raw as possible. We're going to be open for some questions that come across, and we'll kind of go from there. All right, so let's hop into these slides here for a second. All right, so Shoot the Hoot Raw. What's today's flight plan, right? So today we're going to talk about a little like 5-minute rant. So what are we talking about today? What is Shoot the Hoot Raw? What is this going to be all about, and how are we going to cover things? We're going to have our nerd update, so kind of what's new, what's coming, what's broken. Open mic for you guys to ask questions. You send questions in via comments, and I'll check them out. And then lastly, maybe a little story that we can talk about and just a few laughs out of. It's only funny when it doesn't happen to you, right? So we're trying to talk about some cybersecurity stories, etc. Okay, so what is Shoot the Hoot Raw? So the plan for this is to have a meeting every Tuesday at 12:30 p.m. Eastern, right? So the 12:30 p.m. Eastern. The whole purpose of this is to last for 15 to 20 minutes, or 15 to 30 minutes, excuse me. And just to pretty much just talk. I want to educate a little bit. I want to have a little fun with you guys, kind of put you some insight into CyberHoot, about what happens on the back end, the team, the company. I want to hear your concerns and stuff as well. And hopefully we can learn some pieces here, right? Just the straight talk that actually happens. So it's going to be raw and unscripted. So yeah, I do a little bit of preparation by putting these slides together, but my intention is only to spend 10 or 15 minutes putting the slides together. I'm just going to speak to it. So I'm not reading from anything. I'm just going to talk from my gut and kind of go from there. All right. So hopefully we can share a little bit, laugh a little bit, and learn together. So another piece of this is it's sort of like a backstage pass to what's new inside of CyberHoot. Because CyberHoot is a very, very agile development company. We push out code, if you guys didn't know this or not, every Tuesday night. So we put the new builds out. It's all automated. It starts around midnight or tonight, and based on your time zone, it pushes out the fixes and the updates to your platform and kind of restarts things in the middle of the night so it doesn't bother you guys too much. So we're very agile, and there's a lot of things that are happening. We're constantly getting feedback from people. We're constantly growing the platform, and we're just listening to what you guys want, and we're putting it all right back to you. Okay. The open mic, right? The open mic is, I want you to ask questions. I want you to, if you have a problem, tell me about the problem, right? We're not perfect, but we're honest and we're transparent and we're doing our best and we respond quickly, right? No judgment on anything that you say. This is your chance to kind of throw it out there to me. Any questions you have and anything we can actually answer. Right? This last question here, the last part. Oh, the cyber fails that are so bad that they're educational. So we're talking about here is just little stories each week. I'll come up with a cybersecurity story that's factual. And what we'll do is we'll talk about it, we'll learn from it, we'll laugh at it, I'm sure. We'll say, oh, that's happened to me. You know, some of these things have happened to me as well. So, when we meet for these Shoot the Hoot Raws, they're designed to be very unscripted, very unfiltered, quick 15 to 30-minute session, and we're gonna just talk and chat. So depending on where you are, if you're on the East Coast, you can grab your lunch, sit down, and enjoy the half hour with me, right? If you're on the West Coast, grab a cup of coffee and maybe some breakfast and sit down and listen. If you're somewhere else around the world where it's later in the evening, grab a drink. No judgment here. It depends on how these things go. I might grab me a bourbon and have a drink here and there too, just to help me get through it sometimes. All right, so that's what Shoot the Hoot Raw is. I'm hoping that we'll get a lot of feedback, a lot of attendance. You can tell other MSPs about it. You can tell SMBs about it. You can tell your friends about it. Anybody who wants to join this, we try to stream. Right now we're streaming on Facebook, LinkedIn, and Twitter. So on those three right now. We may expand to Instagram as well, but we're going to see how things go. All right, so that's the Shoot the Hoot Raw. If you have any questions or anything, just let me know. Otherwise, we're just going to keep moving along. All right. Oops, slide 4. All right, the CyberHoot Nerd Update. So this is the stuff that's, what's new. This is part of that. Every Tuesday we push out new code. This is what's coming out tonight, right? So I kind of broke these things down into originally fixes and features. But then I thought there's some things that happen that aren't necessarily features and are not fixes either, just updates. So we're going to be showing you this list with just based on fixes, updates, and features. And if something else comes up that I can call something else, maybe I will. So the first fix that we have going out is associated, actually the first 2 fixes here are associated with domain requirement issues that we've seen in Autopilot and in our customer API endpoints, right? So you guys might not know this about Autopilot, but every deployment has a Power Platform on the back end. And the Autopilot is that face to that back end. And that Autopilot reaches over to that Power Platform via APIs, the same API endpoints that we offer to you if you want to integrate with CyberHoot. So there's some issues here with domain requirements when you're setting up your customer, et cetera. And those domain requirements are very important. They're used in things like our dark web monitoring and searching. They're used sometimes for our syncing, like with Google. We use those domains to sync back and forth with Google. So sometimes there's little issues with requirements, apparently. I don't know the exact issues that were these here, but that's what would have been impacted by it. And looks like these guys have taken care of the problem, and that's the fix is going to be going out tonight. All right, an update. So update the Autopilot naming and URLs. This is an interesting one because a lot of people don't know is, like I just said before, we have a Power Platform, which is what CyberHoot originally developed, what I originally set up and developed, right? And then as we were working with this platform, you put more and more stuff in, it started to become a little bit hard to navigate here and there. We said, what can we do to make things a little simpler, cut it down, and offer a little bit of a scaled down product? So we came out with Autopilot. So when Autopilot came out, we started getting people sign up for Autopilot left and right, which was really great. But as they ran Autopilot, they started talking about, hey, I want more functionality. I want to have custom scheduling in there, and I want to have custom messaging. I want to do things like dark web monitoring, things of those nature. So we listened to you guys, and we said, how can we do this and make it great? So we came up with something called power-ups. And those power-ups were taking our Autopilot platform and adding more functionality to them, right? With that customized scheduling and the customized messaging, the Hootfish challenge, et cetera, that we have in power-ups. And our plan was to move people from that Autopilot platform into the power-up platform, and then rename that power-up platform Autopilot. It really is just Autopilot powered up. So now we have 2 platforms. We have Power and Autopilot, and everyone's in there. And what was happening before these updated Autopilot naming and URLs, some people who got moved over were going to powerup.cyberhoot.com, and the original people were on autopilot.cyberhoot.com. What we've done is we did an email back that says, click this link to go to your deployment. What it's basically doing now, before, if you were on Power, it was saying a power-up link that you would go to. But now we have it so that you click on that, it goes to Autopilot. So that's that little bit of that naming difference in the URLs that we're talking about. All right. And I plan on doing a Shoot the Hoot Raw 5 to 10 minute episode on the different platforms that we have to help you guys to kind of educate a little bit about how things are, a little bit of history, kind of fun to hear some of the stories and the challenges and why we did certain things. So the plan is to put this out there to you guys and give you a little bit of that background. The last update we have going out is really simple. Remove the My Assignments link from the billing emails. So in our billing, in our email templates, we had the My Assignments link in the upper right-hand side there so that anyone who would get any emails from us would get that My Assignments link and be able to go to their My Assignments. Well, we were just using the same template for our billing emails. So you're getting a bill that says, hey, here's your billing. That's, here, click on this for your My Assignments. It doesn't add up, right? And honestly, I don't even know if it was actually even working, because if you're billing someone, how are you tying it to a user for My Assignment? So I'm not sure how that would have ever worked anyway. So we removed that, and that should be taken care of. All right. Let's see here. All right, now we're at the portion where open mic. These are your questions and my half-baked answers. My opportunity to try to answer as best I can with any questions you have. Like, I'm going to be as honest as possible and as transparent as possible. I don't know everything. I've been in cybersecurity for 30 years now, but I'm far from knowing everything. I do a lot of reading, so we have conversations and discussions. We can talk about all kinds of things, not only just about cyber. We talk about sales and how can you sell to vendors. We can talk about, or sell to your customers. We can talk about, how to increase your sales rates. We can talk about, what kind of things are coming out, so you know what to prepare for and how to get in front of your customers. We can talk about self-improvement stuff. If you have questions about self-improvement, I'm by far no way the sharpest knife in the drawer, but I have read over like 450 books or different nonfiction books on different things. So I got a vast amount of knowledge that I'm ready to dump as much as I possibly can. And like I said, it's far from perfect, but I think it's something we can share. All right, so questions. Let's see. All right, here's one. What's the number one mistake I see MSPs make with cybersecurity? I would say it would have to come down to sales, right? I think that I've seen people sell and try to sell cybersecurity to people, and just doesn't seem very effective. There are a number of things in sales that you have to be able to do, just sales in generally. But when it comes to cybersecurity, if we can't communicate the need properly of why it's important and the value that it provides, then it's going to be very, very difficult to sell that cybersecurity to anyone, right? And I think MSPs, and I've seen it in our own business where we've tried to sell cybersecurity to MSPs or businesses, and we failed, which is why I'm kind of taking this little bit of a role in doing some of the sales stuff, because I wanted to see what the problem was, and I went after the problem and started solving that problem while we were out converting. So it can be very difficult and really misunderstood on how to actually sell cybersecurity and how to sell to people in general. So I think one of the biggest mistakes is just knowing how to sell cybersecurity, knowing how to show your prospects that itch they have that you can help them scratch, right? So that's a pretty important one. All right, what else do we have? What's one underrated feature in CyberHoot that most MSPs or SMBs miss or don't realize? Okay, so a lot of platforms out there, they will give you the 30-day free trial. Like it's like a checkbox. You have to do it. Check. We give you the 30 days free trial. So you sign up for our Power Platform or Autopilot, get 30 days free, full access to it. Give it hell, right? Well, one of the things that we do at CyberHoot is we used to have this thing called a sales module. And what basically happened was it was a separate tab, and you would click on sales module. And what it would do is it would run like DNS chats, and it would run a phishing test. It would do a bunch of different things that would help you, the MSP, generate a report that you could go and give to people and say, this is why you need cybersecurity, right? It would do dark web monitoring and give you an output of that and so forth. We said, this is what's there. What happened was with our sales module is every time we added something great to the platform, my co-founder, Craig Taylor, was like, oh, this is great, so we need to add it to sales module. And I'm like, okay, all right, we'll add that in. And we kept duplicating everything that was so great to add to the sales module as well. So then we got together with Brad, one of our other co-founders, and we were talking about how do we do this better. And one of the things we like to do at CyberHoot is instead of being into the weeds, we kind of start to zoom out a little bit and go, instead of trying to solve this problem and adding another thing in, can we do this easier and better? So what we did instead was we took out the sales module, gone. And instead we said for every customer you add to the platform, you would get that customer for 30 days for free. That gives you the ability to run training, phish testing, get the DNS type of provided domains, the dark web monitoring, all those pieces, generate a sales report that you can actually present to someone for 30 days free. Doesn't matter if you got one user on that customer or 100,000 users. They're free for 30 days. In that 30 days, your job is to get that report together and sell. If you sell, no problem. Leave the customer in there. They keep moving with the training, and next thing you know, you get billed the next month. But if for some reason they don't sell or they don't close, or it might be longer than the 30 days, maybe it's 60 days, 90 days before they want to actually settle, then what can happen at that point is we turn around and say, all right, you can archive that customer. You will not be billed for that customer now. All right, so the customer's archived, you're not billed. If for some reason they come back on there, you can re-enable them in the platform. Otherwise, you leave them archived forever and you move on to the next prospect. So that's one of the biggest underrated features that people don't realize. So it doesn't matter if you've been in our platform for 6 months or 6 years. Every new customer is a 30-day free trial of those users. All right. So that's all the questions we have for now. So we answered all those. So, lastly, the Hoot-worthy horror story, ones we can kind of laugh at, cringe, and learn from. So the intern who broke the internet. So there's an intern, of course, at a major cloud provider who misconfigured a routing table. The result of that was that Reddit, Netflix, and Amazon all went down globally. It's a tech guy's nightmare, right? And a CEO, I guess, as well. Like, oh, everything's down. So what caused this? It was a copy and paste error that was deployed live, and lo and behold, it was a guy's first week on the job, right? Like sort of like an intern first week on the job, and the lesson from it is, hey, don't fear the intern, just fear the lack of guardrails. Right, and it's very easy, right, to have this kind of thing happen and go, someone get mad, right? Oh, did this wrong. Like I know a lot of places that if someone does something wrong, they get scolded for it. Here at Cyberhoot, we don't scold, right? People make mistakes. We're human, right? So I remember we had an engineer that we hired. It was his first week on the job, and he was doing some work on one of our nodes. And in the midst of doing that work, he was modifying some of its firewall rules on that node. So we preach security, we practice security inside of Cyber. So he modified the rules. And as you know, I didn't know this was happening, of course. But sites started going down. Like a third of our sites went down. I'm like, we started getting the alerts and like, what's happening? What's happening? So I have to go onto the Slack channel. I'm like, hey, there's someone working on the nodes. And then the one guy goes, yeah, I am. I'm like, did you change the firewall rules? He's like, yeah, I did. Did you do it through here or there? He's like, I did it through here. I'm like, that's the problem. I'll take care of it. Fixed it, got it back up. He came back on the call. He was like, oh man. He's like, you upset? I'm like, no, not at all. I said, it's going to happen. It's my fault. I didn't put the guardrails in that said, look, you need to do something this way. I didn't do that. You did it, and it took it down. How did I know it was that? Because I did the same thing when I first deployed all the nodes. I did the same exact thing, right? So I actually get it. There's a fabled story with IBM, and I don't believe it's true. It's just a fabled story, where Tom Watson Sr. Had an employee working for him, and the employee made a $10 million mistake. So then, of course, Watson wants to see the employee. The employee comes in, and he's nervous. He's trying to shake a little bit. He looks at him, up at Watson, and goes, "I suspect you're going to fire me, right?" And Watson goes, "Fire you? Hell, I just paid $10 million to train you." Right? Because he just learned. One, there was guardrails that probably were not in place. But two, he just spent a lot of money educating that person. So why would you want to get rid of them? There's another story. This is a true story of it was an airplane pilot named Bob Hoover in the early 1980s. He would do air shows in these small, I think he called it a Shrike Commander airplane, like a little 2-engine thing. He went out for a practice flight. And when he was out, he was in the air just a few minutes. Next thing you know, both engines cut down. This guy was a very skilled pilot. He was just doing tricks and stuff. So he was able to safely glide the plane in and land it successfully. And he went up and he said, well, what happened? And he looked, he said, well, who fueled the plane? They found out that instead of putting regular, engine fuel in, I don't know, forgive my ignorance, they put in jet fuel instead. And didn't work, engines shut down. And they said, well, this is the guy who did it, right? He goes, listen, I'm really, really sorry. He goes, I get it. We all make mistakes, right? From now on, you're the only guy I want fuel in my airplane. Because we all make mistakes, but we rarely make the same mistake twice. So another way of looking at these stories and everything. So I just one question I have for you here. Everybody know what this incident was? What company? This was Cloudflare back in 2022 that this incident happened. There was another incident about a year before that where a major social media network kind of went down, and it was down for about 6 hours. And I remember one from 2021. It was pretty impactful. You know? So that was Facebook, Meta. They had a similar issue in 2021 where an internal DNS change took down Facebook, Instagram, and WhatsApp for 6 hours. Now, it wasn't an intern or a new employee that did it. They were just making an internal DNS change. Now, the reason it was down for 6 hours is because not only did it block internet access to all their machines, but it also broke internal access via their tools to solve problems as well. So they locked themselves out of a problem. They broke it and locked themselves out. Kind of the equivalent of like taking something offline, and if you're working from home, you take something offline that's in the data center, and you shut it down. Now you can't turn it back on. You're like, crap. So they have to go to the console and fix it, et cetera. So it was down for 6 hours, so they actually broke the access. Now, I've never met Mark Zuckerberg, but I know in the social network movie, he was pretty irate and pretty insistent, that we never go down. We never go down. So I imagine Zuckerberg was pretty upset when this actually happened. All right. So that's your Hoot-worthy horror story for the week. Right. Now, so this was our first episode of the Shoot to Hoot Raw. We took this first step together, right? We kind of took that first step. We did our maiden voyage, and hell, we left the nest, right, for our first flight. Wasn't perfect, probably. Hopefully, you guys can understand me well. Hopefully, this is actually streaming, because quite honestly, I didn't check if you were streaming or not. And maybe I should check real fast to make sure no one's pinging me saying it's not working. No one's saying that. So I assume everything's working and working well. Look for me every Tuesday here at 12:30. Might not be perfect every Tuesday. The goal is every Tuesday. Hopefully life doesn't interject with that. Every Tuesday at 12:30 is the plan. So thanks so much for your time. I appreciate it. Tell your friends, tell other MSPs and SMBs, come see us on Shoot the Hoot Raw. And what I'll do is give you the unfiltered, unscripted, unapologetically cyber hoot answers. Thanks, guys and gals.